Hey everybody, I'm Lisa Evers, and this is your Lisa Evers report for Monday, July 12th, 2021. I'm on East 187th Street here in the Bronx between Prospect Avenue and Crotona Avenue. We're coming off another summer weekend. It's another Monday, and yet another round of disturbing gun violence here in New York City. We had 16 separate shooting incidents over the weekend, 19 people shot, including 2 teens here in the Bronx who were shot and killed. One, a 13-year-old right in front of the restaurant you see behind me, Angel's Cafe, which they don't think had anything to do with the shooting. It was just the location of where 13-year-old Jerian Elliott was targeted and shot multiple times, and he later died on Sunday at the hospital nearby here. So what police are saying is that may have been a gang retaliation shooting. It may have been a shooting that followed that a number of hours later of a 16-year-old not too far away in the Mount Hope section of the Bronx. He was shot and killed while sitting in a car by 2 gunmen who were on scooters doing a drive-by. Now, one of the new things that's been happening in New York City this summer with the popularity of the scooters, the motorized scooters, is that people are using them for these drive-by shootings. We saw the getaway, the quote-unquote getaway driver in that shooting that happened in the Bronx last month, where the 2 children were right in the line of fire, but thank God, due to a miracle, were not hit. We saw a scooter used in that as the getaway vehicle. So the chief of detective, James Essig, who I interviewed last week for a Fox 5 special that we have airing on Wednesday, told me, he said, Lisa, this is one of the new things and the big things that is happening this summer, the use of these scooters in these drive-by shootings, and a lot more drive-by shootings than we've seen in New York. So the question is, what's going to stop the violence? The police say they're making record numbers of gun arrests, that they're taking more guns off the streets than ever before. However, the guns continue to flood in. This afternoon at the White House, President Biden convened a group of local leaders, state leaders, and national leaders, including law enforcement from the Justice Department and other law enforcement agencies, to talk about what they can do to stop the gun trafficking, because no matter what happens in New York City, if the guns continue to come in and flood in from these other states and they're here, we'll have the type of situation where we have now, where there's so many people having guns that have no business having a gun. So police say that's one thing. Another thing is this task force that they put together, because under the previous presidential administration, very little was done federally in terms of enforcing these interstate gun trafficking laws. There's now a task force in effect here in New York City, which includes NYPD officers, includes federal law enforcement, and also includes agents from the ATF trying to track down where these guns are coming in from, who's doing the trafficking, and cracking down on that. So there's that crackdown that is going on. And then there's the other issue of the courts reopening, so more of the cases, there was a backlog of cases with gun traffickers and with people that had been arrested on gun charges. They were basically out on the streets. So police say as that starts to happen, as they start to catch up with that, then we're going to start to see a decline. Now the shootings are still rising compared to last year, which you would expect because of the pandemic. A lot of people were inside, things were shut down, but the rise is slowing, and they say that rise is going to really dramatically decrease as more people are taken off the streets. They also say, the chief of detectives told me this last week in my interview, my one-on-one interview with him, which was fascinating to see all these different techniques that they're using, is that they plan on making a lot more raids. They plan on making the type of gang and gun raids that I was on in May, where I got to see firsthand how they're doing this right now. And they also plan to use, and this is something you should pay attention to, and anybody that you know that is hustling, that is involved with guns in any way, whether it's somebody you know who has a gun and you're not involved in it. I'm not judging anybody here. I'm just saying simply that a lot of these cases are going to now be going federal. A lot of these cases are also going to become eligible for conspiracy laws, which means you don't actually have to be the one that owns the gun. If you're involved with the person who owns the gun, you are exposing yourself to potential legal problems and liability issues in the future, especially legal issues, because conspiracy laws are much different the way they're enforced and who can be prosecuted under them than a regular possession charge. So those are some of the things that are going on. So there is hope, but there's also tremendous grief here. I mean, a 13-year-old just down the block, 2 blocks from the Bronx Zoo, lost his life for what? You know, here's a young man, a teenager, his whole life ahead of him, and that sends a terrible message to a lot of the other teens. So Jerine Elliott, may he rest in peace. The other teen victims who have been shot recently, rest in peace to them. My condolences to their family, but this gun violence is just got to stop. It's outrageous. And it takes all of us letting everyone know that this is just not acceptable. This is no way to live. When you're in fear of gun violence in 2021 in the United States of America, in one of the most sophisticated, most diverse cities in the world, we can definitely do better than this. So have a great evening. That's your Lisa Evers report for Monday, July 12th, 2021.